Thanks, guys, for joining us on the first ever GG Weekend Watch. I'm the newbie, I think, then, to this. You'll recognise the other two guys that are with us. Really looking forward to you joining us, hopefully, every single week. Of course, we've got the wonderful resident tipsters in Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount. And I suppose for this weekend, praying that the weather gods are going to be kind to us, because that may be the only stopping point, shall we say, for the weekend. So we've got Warwick and we've got Market Rasen to talk about. We're going to start with Warwick, the 150 there, and I think we'll start with Andrew's view on that Novices Chase. It's over 3 miles. It's a good race. It's a grade 2. Sadly, not that many to choose from, Andrew.
Yeah, hi, Leonna. This is cut up pretty badly from the 4-day stage. We had 9 runners. Looked like being an absolute belter, but we've only got the 3 now, headed by Next Destination, of course, won in this same grade 2 company at Newbury last time out. And he's heading the market around about 6 to 4 on. Obvious claims, but at that price, I can leave him alone. I'm actually going to take a chance on the outsider of 3, Golan Fortune. Now, like the favourite, he's a 9-year-old, but he's only had a couple of runs over fence. He was winning at Ludlow, surviving a bad blunder. Then stepping up in class to Grade 1 company last time at Kempton in the Quarto Star Novices Chase. He's run a cracker at 40 to 1, finishing 4th to Chamblou that day. He's a horse who tends to go well at this time of year. His 5 career wins have all come in November and December. So we're only in early January now, so I still think this is his sort of peak of midwinter period. And Golden Fortune could cause a bit of a shock here. He's likely to be up with the pace as well. And tactics that are often favoured at Warwick. So around about sort of 13 to 2, 7 to 1, I think, in a place at the time of recording. And Golden Fortune could be a bit of value here. I didn't like Fiddler on the Roof, the Tizard runner, just because of the form of the yard. It really struggled since the 1st of December, sorry, the 1st of September. They're running about a 9% strike rate, well below market expectations for their runners, 0 from 12 so far this year. So if you take Fiddler on the Roof out of the equation, back Golden Fortune, or at least back Golden Fortune without the favourite, is my recommendation.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised you found something a bit different in there. And yeah, obviously we talk about strike rates for yards. So Colin Tizard, I suppose it's a case of, if you're a smaller yard and you've not got many horses, or you've not got the quality of horses, you're not as picky about the percentage for strike rate, etc. But a big yard like that, I don't suppose that's what you'd expect. What are we doing, Daryl? What's your view in the race?
Yeah, it's disappointing. There's only 3 runners that will turn up, Leonna. I think there's very few negatives against the favourite Next Destination. It's probably not going to be a bet in here for me, to be honest, to get that out straight away. Next Destination, he's a dual grade 1 winner as a novice. He was impressive on his hurdle comeback at Weatherby behind Roxana. Roxana pretty much gave that form a good boost next time, finishing 2 lengths off Paisley Park. And then he jumped well in his novice chase, and the time was very good. They were quicker than the Peter O'Sullivan handicap chase on the card. He never looked like faltering at fence. He jumped slightly out to his left, but very few negatives against him for me. So I probably wouldn't be looking to take him on. I can see Andrew's angle on Golden Fortune, to be honest. This is technically a step back in grade for Golden Fortune after running in the Quarto Star Novices Chase last time. Fiddler on the Roof is a weird one. I'm not a big believer in yard form, to be honest with you. I think a lot of the time the horses are running over the wrong trips or have not been given the conditions that they deserve. And Fiddler on the Roof is one of these. He's been screaming for a step up and trip for a long time, and he's up to 3 miles now. He's got a few questions to answer. And it does just worry me why they've taken so long to step up to 3 miles. He was well beaten in his 2 points over 3 miles, albeit they were good races. I just wonder why they've taken so long to step up. I thought after Exeter, he scrambled back up on the line. He won by a head, and then they stepped him back down. He went up a furlong in trip at Newbury on good ground. It was never going to suit him. He's a bit of an enigma, this horse. He's got a few questions to answer. I couldn't be backing him at 13 to 8. I think it's a race for me to leave alone, but I think the favourite's the most likely winner.
Yeah, and surely if there's the slight doubt then of the trip for Fiddler on the Roof, if the ground is the way we assume it's going to be, it's even more of a stamina issue / question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a tricky race. It looks a cracker midweek, like Andrew said, but probably one just to avoid the first race of the day, unless you do fancy Andrew's tip. So I do think that Golden Fortune will actually get a soft lead out on the front end, and he could just dictate matters.
Yeah, well, we'll let you off for not having quite one in this. We've got loads more to choose from. And the next race coming up is the next at Warwick, isn't it? The 225. And I've actually found myself a good stat for this, and you two can either back me up or not. We'll start with you, Daryl, for this one. And it was actually that no horse has managed to win this trying to step up from 2 miles for the very first time. And it's not from small numbers either. 22 horses in the last 16 runnings have tried, and the first 2 in the betting are trying to do just that. So they've got to overcome that trend.
Yeah, they have, and that's actually a good sign for my fancy, because I think this JBY for Alan King is very, very interesting. I loved what he did over course and distance last time. He's only 1 or 2 horses to actually win over this trip in this field. It's a little bit of a punty bet, if you like, because it's very difficult to gauge just what he did on that day. The only comparative race on the card in terms of a time and the speed figure comparison was a 0 to 100 on the card. Now, he was 17 lengths faster over the whole circuit than the 0 to 100 winner. He was 15 lengths faster, 3 out to the finish. But what he did in that finish was really impressive. He beat Nicky Henderson hot pot, odds on shot. And if you go back and look through the winners of that race that won that Warwick novice hurdle in recent years, Nicky Henderson won it the last twice with a couple of nice horses. You go back a little bit further, and there's some really decent horses that have come through, the likes of Willoughby Court, Carmel Loft, Welsh Saint and Birchdale were the 2 Nicky Henderson winners. So I do think that this horse could have a little bit more to come. That was his fresh run after 300 days off the track. There's plenty to like. It's one I'm actually getting quite excited about this term, because I've been through nearly every single one of these runners, and I've done all of their circuit time figures and compared them to other races on the same day on the card. I can't see any of these horses running. I mean, they're entitled to improve with this step up and trip. But what they've done, a lot of these handicap marks are inflated.
Yeah.
It looks weak enough in depth. I just feel like this is a race to really just take a bit of a punty chance on one. And I think this JBY could be fairly useful. If you go back to his point-to-point win over 3 miles, he beat a horse called Lifetime Ambition by 3 lengths. That horse was with Jessica Harrington. That horse went out and bolted up next time in a point-to-point and beat a horse called Pat's Fancy that's actually rated 133. So, you know, there could be plenty more to come. I don't think he's got a lot to find. And the course and distance win is a big bonus for me.
Yeah, well, you guys are probably definitely the experts over me, but I've got my notes written down at the side of me, and that's exactly what I've written. That was one horse that I thought actually looked a bit of value, JBY. As you say, point form's good. Won at Wetherby, came off a slow pace from the back. I thought that made it all that more impressive. Won by, I think, 9 and a bit, wasn't it? So that's what I wrote at each way value as well. Have we got, is that about 8, 9 to 1 at the moment, I think?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so at the time of recording anyway. We might be ganging up on you then, Andrew. What do you like in that?
Well, I'm a bit gutted now, Leonna, because you've outstatted me with that stat about horses who step up in trip struggling in this race. I had a look at that angle as well. I'm obviously not as keen as you. I didn't go back 16 years, only went back 10 years. 0 from 23, those who are stepping up in trip. So, as you say, that's a negative for the front 2 in the betting. The one I was quite interested in was the Django horse, Oscar Elite. He's stepping up in class after winning at Chepstow last time out. But, I mean, this race often goes to a last time out winner, 7 of the last 10. 2 of the other 3 were second in their prep run. And it also often goes to a horse who is stepping up in class. 6 of the last 10 winners were running in Class 4 company last time out. Oscar Elite clocked a really good speed figure according to race form when he won that Chepstow contest last time. John Joe O'Neill, after a quiet December, has started saddling plenty of winners in January. I think it's a yard that's coming to form at the right time for this Saturday. And I think Oscar Elite, with his prominent running style, can take the step up in class in his stride. He's ran about 9 to 2/3 in. There's no stamina doubt. He's actually stepping back in trip after winning over that extended 2 mile 7 last time out. I think they'll make use of his stamina, send him on. Again, like most Warwick races, this tends to go to a prominent racer. So, yeah, Oscar Elite can hopefully give us a good run for our money from the front here.
Yeah, I assume that stat that we both see a lot of that it is going to be because obviously the time of the year that races ran, the ground is always going to not be the best. So then horses are A, stepping up, and B, on atrocious ground. Makes it a bit difficult, doesn't it? So JBY then for me and Daryl, and Oscar Elite for John Joe O'Neill. Colin Tizard and Andrew. The next race we're going to move on to is the next at Warwick then. So that's at the 3 o'clock. And this is another good race, obviously grade 3 and definitely stamina laden, 3 mile 5. And we've got a fair few golden oldies in here, Andrew.
I like how you said golden oldie, then came to me before Daryl. No offense.
I'd say nothing.
Yeah, this is a classic, and yeah, no pun intended. And Ballyoptic heads the weights, and that's meant that a lot of horses are out of the handicap as a result here. So you just wonder whether Ballyoptic's presence is to keep the weights down for stablemate the Hollow Ginge, who fell unseated in the Welsh National the other day. So I thought the Hollow Ginge could go quite well. It's Nigel Twiston-Davies again, is after a quiet spell in December, has started finding his form at the moment. Ballyoptic I didn't like. He tends to do best in small fields. I think he's had 9 goes in fields of 9 or more runners over fences. He's lost every single time, rarely completing the course. Of the others that we're familiar with, Walk in the Mill, he's obviously been laid out for the Grand National again, you would have thought, having won the Beecher twice previously, but he fell in that race last time out. Now, the last couple of years, he's prepped in hurdles until the national weights were out. So they obviously want to get a clear round into over fences rather than turn up at Aintree with a fall on his latest chase outing. They've stuck the blinkers on for the first time. He won in first time cheap pieces. But I think, again, this might just be a confidence booster after Aintree. Storm Control is one horse that I really love in this race in terms of his attitude. And he showed such willingness to win at Cheltenham last time out. He's bidding for a hat-trick here. But his Warwick form is a real worry. He's had 3 goes at the track, pulled up, and 7th, beaten 33 lengths. I think it's going to be sharp for him. So, you know, these are horses near the head of the betting that you can perhaps discount. Now, Not a Chance is one I don't like, the Alan King favourite. I thought he was flattered by that Bangor win last time out. So they've gone like the absolute clappers. The pace has collapsed. 3 of the first 4 home have come from well off the pace. And the one who didn't was the third, the 2 Amigos, because he's run well in the Welsh National. Now, the second and the 4th came from well back. They've both been well beaten in their subsequent outings. And so now we get the chance to see Not a Chance whether he was flattered as well. So I think he was, and at the price, I'm going to leave him alone. Lebroy was half interested after a wind-up, but he's probably a spring horse. Petit Power was 3rd last year and could plug on into a place. But the one I'm going with is Django for John Joe O'Neill, who caught the eye when 5th at Newbury last time out and never put into the race. They've got the cheap pieces on for the first time. Now, last year, John ran 10 horses in first-time cheap pieces. 4 of those won, including Cloth Cap, of course, who won the Ladbrokes Trophy in November. So I think we're going to see a lot more, perhaps a more prominent ride from Django here. He's 16s into 12s today. I still think there's some juice in that price. So Django for John Joe.
Yeah, it's a hard one to weigh up, isn't it? There's a couple of questions that I had that I'll pose to you, Andrew. So the Hollow Ginge, I know unseated last time, and the fact that it was just 7 days ago, I thought that was something to consider because it seems very soon, doesn't it, for the jumping horses? And the other question was, how are you? Well, I'll say 2. I'll ask Andrew first, the 2 of you though. The Ben Pauling yard, obviously they had all that thing with the haylage, didn't they, and the spores, and he thought that he perhaps didn't make the horses right. The horses weren't right for a very long time. At what point do we think that we kind of look past that and think that they're back to normal, because they don't seem to have still kind of hit it just yet? So they were the 2 things I wondered about this race.
Yeah, he's had a few winners actually, Ben Pauling, recently. A few run well at big prices in defeat as well. So I certainly wouldn't let that put me off. But yeah, it's interesting you're saying about the some of the yards being out of form. I heard that one yard was struggling because they'd over-sanitized because of COVID. They'd used so many chemicals and done such deep cleaning around the yard that those chemicals were horses. And that was Harry Whittington, apparently. And he had to have a chemical expert in to realise what had happened. And so they closed their yard down for a while. So there's been fun and games in terms of yards in and out of form, perhaps for different reasons that we're not normally used to because of COVID. But yeah, Ben Pauling's showing the right moment for a quiet spell. But yeah, my theory with Lebroy is just that it might be better in the spring. He won a couple of times in November, but one of those was at Sedgefield 5 years ago. The other was when he was 9-1 on at Huntingdon. 3 of his last 4 wins have now come in March or April. and he's not exactly prolific at the moment. That 4-mile novice win at the Cheltenham Festival is only win from his last 11 starts, I think. So yeah, I'm with Django here.
Okay, so LeBroy quite a big negative. And Daryl, then we'll start with, what do you think about the Hollow Ginge running back after so quickly and after unseating?
I might take it as a positive sign, to be honest. I actually quite like the Hollow Ginge for this. Clearly, well thought, or they thought they had a fantastic chance at Chepstow in the Welsh National. I think the spin and return of 7 days is no issue at all, really, for me. Sam Twiston-Davies is on board. And he caught the eye of the Ladbroke Trophy behind Cloth Cap, staying on just the one pace, really. And I think that's sort of the horse that you need for these type of races. So I haven't gone too deep into this race, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's one of those that one of these old favourites can just pop up, and a horse that you've backed 100 times and you don't back this time, well, nailing you. It's one of those that I'll try and steer clear from nowadays. But well, Captain Chaos was the rightful favourite, really. He's been well supported all week. The blinkers go back on. The first time since his win. He's £2 higher than last year. He was given a really aggressive ride last year in this race. It was fantastic to watch from Harry Skelton, and then just got caught. You look at the form of last year's race, it's fantastic. Kimberlite Candy was the winner that year. The conditional finished 4th, went out and won the Ultimate Handicap next time. It's really, really strong form. If he gets that type of ride again, it will be exciting if you backed Captain Chaos, that's for sure, because I don't think this is a stronger renewal as last year. But I also like the angle with the Hollow Ginge with Ballyoptic being in here to keep the weights down as well. So, I mean, he's 20 to 1, the Hollow Ginge. If I'm going to have a bet, I'm probably just going to take a chance at 20 to 1, to be fair.
Yeah. They were very quick on social media, weren't they, to say the Hollow Ginge is fine, he's back eating, he's, nothing wrong with him. So yeah. I suppose that makes him interesting, yeah.
Leonna, just going back to Nigel Twiston-Davies, when he's brought back a horse who's unseated in a chase, run him in another chase within the last 10 days, 5 winners from 25, and another 8 of those finished placed. So, over 50% win and place strike rate for horses he brings back to the track quickly, often unseat. So he's done it before. So I wouldn't let that put you off.
Yeah, I wonder whether perhaps as well a bit that comes into that is, if a horse has made a bad error and they then run them quickly, they remember, so they're a bit sharper and maybe they jump a bit better. So perhaps he prefers to run them quickly after, if they're well enough, of course. But I didn't have a strong fancy in that. But the one that I thought perhaps was Captain Chaos, looking at last year's race, I thought ran so well. And I didn't think, as much as this year's is wide open, I didn't think it was as a stronger renewal, as you say, with the likes of Kimberlite Candy, the conditional, those kind of horses in there. I thought this was perhaps a little bit easy, and I just wonder whether they have half kind of laid Captain Chaos out for this, and kind of this was always the plan. So I had half a fancy in Captain Chaos as well. You're going to go for the Hollow Ginge if you have to.
Yeah, if you're going to push me for a selection, it's 20 to 1 each way, Hollow Ginge.
And Django for Andrew, yeah?
That's right.
So they're both really good each way value. We've then got the 3:35 at Warwick, which is that for Temps. Again, really good quality race. Like the look of this one. Daryl, I've got a selection in this, so I'll give you that, and then you can tell me the reasons why it won't win. And that is Mr. Harp. I thought Mr. Harp was in a couple of slowly run races that perhaps didn't run to suit and didn't flatter. And then last time, again, similar to the horse I said earlier, was held up in a fairly slowly run race, scooted clear over 3 miles. And I thought, he's unexposed and looked progressive to me on that occasion. So Mr. Harp, the one that I thought, and is kind of each way value as well. And Daryl, you can tell me why you think Mr. Harp won't win.
No, I think he's got every single chance. This is a big step up in grade, though. This is a big ask. And I'll tell you what, with these potential qualifiers, it's very, very tricky because you're qualifying for the Thames final, of course, at Cheltenham, and you've just got to keep an eye on the handicap marks that they're winning off, because they can sneak into a place and then meet the festival on a decent handicap mark. So it can be very tricky. I'm going to side with the favourite in here. It sounds boring, but come on, Teddy. I was very, very impressed with him at Cheltenham. The time figure was really good. From the third last to the finish line, he was quicker than some of the 2 mile races on the card. He's a young, progressive horse, not had many races at all. I think he's going to come on a ton for that. On the blind side, went out and ran an absolute cracker Kempton behind me, fabulous next time, just to give that form a little bit of a boost or a little bit of substance to it, if you like. And I think Comontelli's got a little bit more to come, and I think he's got a little bit of class about him as well. And I don't think a mark of 134 is beyond him by any means. So Comontelli for Tom George for me.
They have not been having that many runners, have they, the last couple of weeks? Have they been quiet enough?
They've been okay. I mean, I think he's had a couple of winners here and there, but everything seems fine. We went and visited him not long ago, and everything seems fine there. They seem happy, healthy, and things are going well. I think he's having a fairly good season, Tom George. So without looking at the stats, but yeah, I mean, if you watched that race back at Cheltenham, the way Comontelli come down that hill. Now I know he benefited from a strong pace, but he still managed to put that free out to finish line time in. Just thought he was really impressive. I just thought he wasn't going away. I just thought there's plenty more to come from him. There's no real reason to oppose him. He's only £7 higher here. This is not as strong of a race as that is. I think there's more to come.
Okay. The favourite at the moment, at time at filming, have Comontelli then for Daryl. Andrew?
Yeah, just going to Tom George because he won with Kempton Expert double shuffle last week, the old boy. That was great to see him back to winning ways. But as for your nap, Leonna, Mr. Harp, I'm actually going to take him on with the horse who he beat into second last time out in that Uttoxeter race. Because when he met, there's St. Dalina for the Charlie Longston yard. Now, St. Dalina was odds on to beat Mr. Harp that day. And they only finished second, beaten 3 lengths. But I think the reason for that defeat was down to where he raced on the track. It was one of these soft ground, heavy ground meetings where the inside of the track was badly cut up. Now, St. Dalina's stuck to the rail under Tommy Buckley, whereas pretty much everything else bar one in the race has come wide. And I think that was perhaps the reason why he was, in terms of his market price, a little bit disappointing that day. So I wouldn't rule out Mr. Harp, but I just thought St. Dalina at a bigger price had excuses for that defeat. And Charlie Longston's had a couple of runners in this race previously. He won it with Eli Brown, a 12-to-1 shot. And then the following year, he had a 20-to-1 third. And it's in these races, it's trying to find which ones have got a realistic chance of winning that per temps final at Cheltenham and perhaps want to finish 4th, 5th or 6th to qualify. Cider Burley, for example, was 4th in this race last year before going on to Cheltenham Glory. But which ones from the smaller yards are just kind of happy to win this 10 grand first prize and probably haven't got realistic ambitions at Cheltenham? So I thought St. Dalina fell into the latter category. And he's around about 12-to-1, 14-to-1. So he's likely to be prominent as well. A lot of these like to be held up. A lot of them are going to be held up just to try and sneak into those sort of, 4th, 5th, 6th places to ensure Cheltenham qualification. So, I think we're on a trier here in terms of St. Dalina. So I'll make him the each-way pick.
Okay. Just quickly as well then, Daryl, we've got a couple of older horses in here, haven't we? We've got the likes of Potter's Corner, who we know plenty about, to be fair as well, of Deborah Hamers, all horses who perhaps, well, in Potter's Corner's case, has had a kind of run to get going, and to be fair, has had quite a few, but I thought Potter's Corner was quite short in the betting for Potter's Corner.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, actually. I love seeing these old favourites. To be fair, has been an absolute legend of a servant to the game. I mean, it just tries his heart out every single time. Pushing 11 now, off a mark of 149. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place, to be honest with you. But he will give his all every time he runs. I suppose if you want to look away from the favourite, the other one you could look at is Imperial Alcazar, who's very, very unexposed for Fergal O'Brien. I really liked this horse last year. Some really nice novice form with the likes of Protectorat and other horses. Clearly, we had to wait a while to see him because he didn't return until November in that really hot Grade 3 handicap hurdle at Haydock behind Main Fact. He ran well for a long way that day on the front end and then just faded away. I quite liked him for that race. I was worried about the first time up. He could take a step forward from that. He's off a mark of 139. That looks about right, to be honest with you. About right, 139 on my figures for him. But he could just step forward and have a little bit more to come. He's very lightly raced. He's a really nice horse, and he's entitled to take a step forward for his seasonal return. I would like to see him held up, or if we're going to get a strong pace, I wouldn't like to see him on the front end again. He did all his best work last year, coming from off a pace and battling up a hill. So I'd like, if he gets held up in a nice position by Paddy Brennan this time out, I could see him taking a step forward from that run. So he might be a live danger to Comontelli.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Those are the Warwick races then. We've then got Market Rasen as well. Obviously, hopefully all these are going to go ahead, and we are going to get to see them. The 205 at Market Rasen, handicap hurdle. Looking forward to this one. Obviously, one of the feature races, and unfortunately, again, small fields or smallish fields for both of the good races, a Class 2. And I thought, Andrew, Edwardstone, they were very, very quick to go back to hurdling.
Yeah, unseated last time out on that chase debut, but I had a look at Alan King's stats when he brings one back to hurdles, having gone over fences, and it's not great. 4 winners from 75 runners since 2010, minus 39 quid to a £1 level stake if you back them blind. So, yeah, I'm a bit concerned about about Edwardstone's chances here, particularly as he's round about the 11 to 10 favourite. So just it wasn't for me. He's a horse who tends to be ridden patiently. He can often race choke out when he's running in small fields as well. And what we've got here is a small field likely to be tactical affair. And so I was leaning towards 2 to take him on with. One of those is fairly obvious. Oscar's Leader, second favourite, round about 7 to 2 at the time of recording. Now, I mean, he's just been very consistent since fitted with a visor. Couple of wins and 3 second places. He goes from the front. He handles the ground. He'll appreciate the small field. He seems, equally effective over sort of 2 or 2 miles, 3 furlongs. So he's likely to put his stamina to good use and just go from the front. And he could just nick this. Market Rasen, generally speaking, favours prominent races on the hurdles track. But the interesting one was Rowland Ward, the outsider of the field, ran about 10 to 1. Now, he was a big eye catcher in the Grade 2 Triumph Hurdle Trial at Cheltenham January last year on Trials Day. He raced on the slowest part of the track, met trouble, finished 5th that day, but he wasn't beaten a million miles. Didn't run again that season. Needed the run first time out at Huntingdon in November, finishing 3rd. Ran an absolute shocker at Cheltenham next time, although that was in a big field handicap hurdle. So coming back to a smaller field, to say he ran well on the Triumph Hurdle Trial, which was 6 runners. He was his sole win for this yard came in a field of 6. So I just think the small field might actually suit Rowland Ward here. And although the Stuart Edmonds yard's been a little bit quiet this season, there may be he could bounce back to some sort of form. But the sensible selection is just to back Oscar's Leader, and hope that one can make all the running.
Yeah, obviously we're saying there Market Rasen's got quite an easy finish, hasn't it? So you wouldn't want to be too far back, but completely agree with the Edwardstone thing. I was surprised he was as short as he was, and obviously that stat, I suppose, just boosts that for me and anyone watching. Daryl, what do you think in that 205?
Oh, come on, you two. Look, Edwardstone should be winning this race. Let's put it right. If Edwardstone's not winning this race, he looks fairly handicapped on everything he's done last season in his novice hurdle form. He should really be put aside tactics and stats. He should be winning this race. He should be. I'll tell you what. There's another negative to add to Edwardstone. I'll tell you what. There is another negative to Edwardstone as well. Is that Tom Cannon's actually jumped off to go and ride JBC over at Warwick, so that's probably another little negative. Look, I think he should be winning this race. Would I be back?
You can't give us a list of negatives. Give us a list of negatives and then say, but it will win.
No, well, he should win. Look, he's the best horse in the race. If you just look at his run in the Greatwood, it was a really decent run on the back of a long absence. 7 lengths being by the shunter. This is a much weaker race than this. He's only unseated in a novice chase since then. So he's not really done a lot wrong if you look at it that way. And he was well fancied for the Greatwood Hurdle. So this is not the Greatwood Hurdle. This is a little Mickey Mouse race round Market Rasen, if we're being honest. Oscar's Leader's a very interesting horse. Okay, I've got a line for Oscar's Leader in terms of time figures. Oscar's Leader has ran on the same card at Sandown and at Haydock as Admiral did. And he's done exactly the same circuit times as Admiral, both times. So either Admiral's rating of 132 is a bit lofty, or Oscar's Leader has got a little bit in hand on his mark of 123. So, and ironically, this race is run at 205, and the novice hurdle over at Warwick is at 225. So there's going to be a little line through. If Oscar's Leader goes and wins this, very readily beaten Edwardstone. I would say that Oscar's leader's probably got a bit in hand, and Admiral's times are what they're supposed to be. So it's a little bit of an unknown with Oscar's leader. I do like him. He's put in 2 career bests this season. You can't really knock him. I thought the drop back and trip was probably a little bit of a negative for him. He battled on really well in very deep ground at Haydock to almost get up and nab the cob the last time. So that would be a slight concern for me. And the other one, Andrew, I did note down as well was Rowland Ward, and I did have in my notes small field, soft ground.
Yeah, come on, this is like countdown when they both get the same word. You have to show you're working.
Yeah, I can do it on online. I've got it written down.
But for me, he's been a little bit frustrating. I mean, that Cheltenham run, he caught the eye a little bit and then just faded away. And it kind of was like he was a little bit intimidated by the big field. So perhaps this smaller field on soft ground will definitely suit him. The Huntington run was okay for a seasonal return run. The ground was far too quick for him there, I think. But if you go back to the Kempton run last year or the Cheltenham run last year, when he should have won at Kempton, but he was hampered badly, all those horses in that race are rated higher than him. So, you know, there is something under the bonnet there for Stuart Edmonds. He's interested. Couldn't have the other two, Crooks Peak or Langadan. But when it comes down to it, Edwardstone should be winning this race. He should.
So that's
Will I back him as Leonna? Probably not, to be honest.
Okie dokie. And Andrew, you're splitting between Oscar's leader and Rowland Ward, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, Oscar's leader, I think, will just, ping and could be 5 lengths clear jumping the first. And, I mean, the majority of Market Rasen races, over hurdles, it pays to be prominent towards that inside rail. You get the very occasional meeting where, the inside's badly cut up, but they move the rail for every Market Rasen meeting to produce fresh ground. So it's very rare that the wide route is favoured, like we saw at Kempton last week, where everyone realised you wanted to be right on the hurdles track except Mix Fitzgerald and Aidan Coleman. I think Oscar's leader. I take Daryl's point about coming back in trip from 3 to 2 might not be ideal, but the ground will be so deep. He should get left alone in front, and the track favours his running style. So I mean, you want to back King horse at 11 or 10 that unseated over fences last time out, coming back over hurdles. Best of luck to you, but not for me.
Yeah, well, none of us are actually backing Edwardstone, but Daryl thinks it still might win. I think it might be difficult to peg something back. If the ground's bottomless, it's going to be hard work to make up ground, isn't it? But 240 at Market Rasen then is the last one. We'll start with Daryl. Obviously, again, this is going to be hard work over just shy of 3 miles. And I think Little Rockefeller's going to be just about the favourite at time of recording, I think.
Yeah, he's around 15 to 8 at the moment, I think. On the blind side in the second fab. Quick turnaround for on the blind side, 7 days. I thought he was pretty much flat out at Kempton, and I thought he had a really tough race there.
Yeah.
If this doesn't come too quick for him, this is a great bit of placing by Nicky Henderson. But surely it's going to come too quick for him. I mean, he was flat out. He ran an absolute blinder, but I think he recorded his highest top speed figure that day, 148, which is, some going to do that.
Yeah.
Mohamed is in here for Dan Skelton. Now, I'm not sure what they're doing with Mohamed because he's qualified for the Patemps, and you'd think on a mark of 141, you'd probably want to get there around that sort of mark. Will he be here for a prep run for Cheltenham, or will he be here to try and pick up a decent little race, a decent little pot? I'm not too sure. I'm going to take a chance on Vision to Flow. Now, it sounds balmy, but I backed him for the long walk hurdle at 40 to 1, and Robbie Power just he was a bit keen in the early stages. Robbie Power let him off his lead, and he just went shooting away. He was never going to keep up that gallop, especially against Grade 1 opposition. He's ran over 3 miles twice in his career, both coming Grade 1 company. And this is not Grade 1 company for sure. That's for sure. He would have gone close last year in the Champion Stayers at Punchestown, if not for a blunder at the final flight. That was 2 years ago. Sorry. He's only an 8-year-old. He feels like he's been around forever, but he's actually bred for this step up and trip. I think there's a little bit more to come from him. I know it's a Colin Tizard horse, and obviously with the yard, I know I'm not a believer in the yard form, but I think this is the right move for Vision to Flow over this sort of trip, and I'm just very much interested to see what he's got to come. Receiving £4 from on the blind side, You know, he's rated 149. I just think there's more to come from Vision to Flow, and I think it's going to be over this trip. So I'm going to side with him at round 7-1.
Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, strange conditions for this race. It's you're not allowed to run if you've won a Grade 1 or Grade 2 hurdle after 2019, and the penalty system certainly favours those who've been winning in Grade 3 enlisted company. So Lil Rockefeller and On the Blind Side looks to have a good chance at the weights. You know, a lot of these are running off the same weight, despite the fact they'll be getting a stone plus in handicap company. So it really does look to pay on those two at the head of the betting, Lil Rockefeller and On the Blind Side. I take Daryl's point about the recent run being a slight concern for On the Blind Side, but I just thought he was favoured by the conditions of the race. And he made the running last time. Now, he did come more over towards the near side, which was the place to be, certainly more so than the unlucky horse in that race, who was the third home Thomas Derby. But he went into the track at the time before when he was second to come on Teddy in that good handicap hurdle at Cheltenham, because he raced around the inside and challenged more towards the far rail that day, when it was obviously an advantage to challenge near side in the straight. And he's still open to improvements at this sort of trip, I think. On the blind side, he's not exactly. He's only had 16 runs in his career, so although he seems to have been around for a long time, he's a 9-year-old now. I still think there's plenty of improvement to come, despite the fact that he is a 9-year-old. Lil Rockefeller's been finding it hard to get his head in front recently. He could be the pace angle is certainly up there as well, but just given the wins to runs ratio of those two at the head of the betting, I'd just favour On the Blind Side over Lil Rockefeller.
Yeah, I was just looking at that, how little times he'd ran for a 9-year-old. They obviously have been looking after him, or they've had a few issues or whatever. That's the 6 races then. I thought if there's anything else over the whole weekend either of you fancy, you could get that in there. Anywhere else, either of you?
Yeah, I was going to say there's an interesting 2-mile handicap at Warwick, the 115, which is the Edward Courage Cup Class 2 contest. Has cut up a little bit to just 6 runners. I've not seen any betting for it yet, but I'd imagine Sky Pirate would be one of the favourites. But he did win last time out at Cheltenham, but he benefited from an absolute lunatic gallop. And I'm not sure his hold-up style is going to be ideally served by Warwick. So I thought I might take a chance on Generous Day, who will probably be one of the outsiders because his form this season hasn't been supersonic. But he's had 2 runs over course and distance, and he won them both. He tends to go from the front, which we've talked about already, is often the tactic that you need at Warwick. So, Generous Day in that 115 on Saturday.
Okay, and Daryl, is there anything else that you like throughout the day?
I've got one. Andrew, actually, just on that race, what on earth are they doing running Sky Pirate over 2 miles over fences again? Why are they not going over hurdles if he's going to the ultimate?
Oh, is that what the target is? Yeah.
I think the target's the ultimate, yeah, but why on earth are they going over fences and not just having a spin over hurdles? Well, I can understand. Well, maybe it's a case of just hunting around at the back of the field and don't damage your handicap mark then. Yeah, even better for your selection.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I've got one Market Rasen 130 Fawsley Spirit. This also ran 2 career bests this term. Fell at Ascot last time behind Morning Spirit. He was ahead at the final flight. He was looking like he was going to stay on strong. Ahead just before the final flight, looking like he was going to stay on strongly, and came down at the last. The pair pulled miles clear of the eventual second. Blame the Game. He's got some decent novice hurdle form. He's up £6 for that, but I think there's more to come. He's in a weaker race on Saturday in a 130. Offer mark 114. I think he should take some stopping.
What price do we think Fawsley Spirit will be? Do we know roughly?
He's probably going to be ahead of the market, to be honest. But anything better than even money is a good shout in this race. It's a race for the nothing, really, for me.
Yeah, it likes to go forward as well, doesn't it? Prominent, so that will suit as well. I think that's it then from us. That's all the races. With it being the first one especially, any questions, comments, tips for me, Andrew, Daryl, constructive criticism as well, we'll take that on. Please feel free to get in touch with us. Obviously, you can post any of your thoughts underneath any of these videos, which will be on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we'll do our very best to answer any of them and get back to you either before the next one or next week on the next video. I hope you enjoy the racing over the weekend. Visit GG.CO.UK, the website, for race cards, form, and tips, of course, up from Andrew and Daryl, and hopefully you can join us again next week. So it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Andrew, and goodbye from Daryl.